The following is intended only for mature audiences.
Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
Hi.
I want to tell you about how I went to vote early this time.
Physically in person.
Yes. So here's the setup. I get out of work and I find out, there's early voting open. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go do that. I don't know why. I just wanted to get it done. I was very adamant that I'm like, I need to make sure that my vote counts.
Even though you could get out of work on Tuesday to go do it?
I didn't want to fuck around and argue with anybody because I didn't work there during the last election.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know anybody that left. I'm like, hey, you owe me the legal right to vote. Fuck you. You don't want to be the person that gets your whole team pissed at you. Like, can't you just vote after work? You know?
Maybe not. Maybe then it's going to be a 3-hour line. I don't know.
It's funny you say that. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure out where to go. And I have help with someone on the phone telling me where the open polling places are. And it happens to be City Hall.
Okay.
It says it closes at 4:30. I found this out at 4:17.
And are you on your way there?
I immediately make a beeline because I'm within 2.5 miles. I get there at 4:24. I park in the half-hour parking spot.
Oh.
I'm like, in and out. This will be fucking easy.
Right?
I go jogging to the one door, and there's a sign that says voting, and it points to the right. And I turn my head and go, fuck. There are like 70 people standing in line. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to go stand in line. I should have been like, I can do this tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, like, this is going to take a while.
So I got in line. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And after about 20 minutes, I had only moved about 20 people. Fuck! Now that sounds pretty good, right? A person per minute?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm sitting there, and then I look, and there's this chick across the fucking line from me, because I've now made it like almost a full U shape in the line, because it goes around the sidewalk. And she just kind of gives me a what's up, and I'm like, the fuck?
Okay.
And then I get a text, and it's a friend of mine that I haven't talked to in forever, from years ago. And she's like, who you voting for? And I'm like, the fuck? I'm like, is that you giving me the heads up with the bluish hair? And she's like, yeah, hi. I didn't recognize you at first. It was getting dark.
Sure.
Because...
And old man eyes.
Fucking yes.
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't have my glasses on. I just thought, who's that chick with the dyed hair and the tattoos? She's like, very sly on her face. She's like, hey. And I'm like, what? Am I getting fucking flirted with in the goddamn voting line? No, it's somebody I already knew.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, everyone's nervous because it's well past the 4:30 now.
That was going to be my question. Did anybody come out and like put a sign up and say this is the end of the line, or no more people are coming in? Or
well, a woman came out and said, just so you guys know, if you come back tomorrow, there won't be a line. But everybody that gets up to the door right now, just so you know, it's going to be another hour to an hour and a half for you to vote. Do with that info what you will. And I'm like, is she trying to discourage us from voting? What the fuck?
Well, I think that's why she said do with that info what you will. I mean, it really is kind of like, well, do you stay or do you go? I mean...
At that point, she should have been like, if you don't want to wait, I'm just going to warn you, it's going to be 60 to 90 minutes for you to get into the booth. And I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then some old lady walks up and hands me a clipboard that says absentee voting. So I'm filling it out.
Okay, sure.
And then she's like, as soon as you sign it, you can go up there to the table. I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe some of these people aren't registered because the lady in front of me was African.
Ah, okay. So, yeah, you're in the new registration line or something.
I thought so. There was just one fucking line. And then she tells the African lady, oh, you're new. Well, here, fill this out. It's the exact same fucking thing I had to fill out. And I'm really curious what the fuck is going on. She has her, like, signed 2 other places. And then some older woman, who I best will describe as a socially awkward Karen, goes walking to the front of the line. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Is she going to the table, like she said? And then she comes back, and then a guy is told by the same old lady, oh, you're done with your form, just go to the thing. Now, I waited in line because I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. And he goes up, and the Karen lady is like, no, she made me get out of line. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh, for Christ's fucking sakes, here we go.
Which is why you didn't get out of line, right? You weren't quite sure.
Correct. And then some other lady lets her back in, and then the guy that she said to go forward and his girlfriend are like, well, we got out of line because she told us to go to the table, and this other woman that said the hour to an hour and a half thing, it's like, oh, that's not right. She's like, well, the lady that works here told us. She's like, which one? And I'm like, uh-oh. Now we're going to have voting judges and voting workers going at each other. Fuck. So here's like a 60-year-old woman, telling a 75-year-old woman, no, they need to stay in line. So the guy and his girlfriend, they get back in line, and the other lady's like, well, that was nice of you to let her back in the line. Nobody's raising any fucking stink.
Fair enough. That's cool.
I got to say, to me, this is probably the most important election that I have voted in, and I have voted in a number of them now, because I turned 18 in the year 2000. So 2000, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I have voted for president 6 fucking times. You can say numbers. I don't know why.
I have 8.
8? Well, yeah, because you're older than I am.
Yeah.
So it's very important, and I can best describe the atmosphere in this room, which I get into the room, and the line goes all the way around this double room into another room where the voting booths are.
Okay.
The atmosphere? Morose. Sad.
Yeah.
And just somber. And nobody's like, yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, yeah, so-and-so.
Nobody cheers. Nobody does anything. It's just like quiet in an open space. Yeah.
It is uncomfortably quiet. Like everybody knows we've already lost, meaning Trump would win.
Oh, sure.
And before I go any further into this story, I want to just enlighten you with a conversation I had with my 75-year-old Democrat mother 2 weeks before this.
Okay.
I'm sitting there, and I'm telling her, I don't think it's good that they're going with Kamala. And she's like, so you're going to vote for Trump? And I'm like, no, boomer. Just because I don't like option A doesn't automatically mean I have to choose option B. What fucking retarded bullshit is that? Because in 2016, our buddy Rick and I, we both voted for Gary Johnson. Didn't get us anywhere, but we fucking did it. Because I voted with my conscience, because I'm like, I'm going to try this libertarian thing because I like what he's saying.
Sure.
He seems more grounded than them. Honestly, I probably should have voted for Hillary because we would have been better off.
Well, but she still would have lost anyway, so you were...
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the argument. Third-party candidates funnel votes away from the big two and then screw somebody over is what they want you to believe, so you'll stop voting for third-party candidates and they can continue to have a two-party monopoly on American politics.
Well, with the one exception, we do have within at least my lifetime an example. Ross Perot basically siphoned off enough votes away from Bush Sr. to where,
it fucked him.
Clinton got elected. Yeah, you know what I mean? He lost incumbency. But that was also a rare thing where you had 12 years of Republican leadership. For them to get another term would have been almost unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, it was not since like the 40s with FDR did you have that with the Democrats and everything else like that.
And they were a very different party back in the 40s, everybody.
Well, yeah, everybody was, but they were getting their identity, right? They were getting rid of the racism of the 1800s, and, well, the Republicans were the ones co-opting that. You know what I mean? It's weird how things will flip and change, and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then my mom is like, I don't know how you can say that. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, Trump is going to win. She's like, no way. I'm like, Linda, he's going to win, and I'll tell you why. People view her as a fucking token hire with an unqualified background. And more importantly, she picked Walz as her fucking running mate instead of Pete Buttigieg. I'd have rather had gay dude as the VP than fucking no balls Walz, or tampon Tim as they're calling him. That fucking guy did not do enough to help out during the riots. He tried to say, well, they wouldn't let me send in the National Guard. Motherfucker, you're the governor and he's the mayor of a city. I'm pretty sure if we're pulling rank, you have more backing to make the call than fucking limp wrist Fry.
You know what? I said it before. They were afraid of the action, of the backlash for the action that they were going to take, and therefore they didn't take any action, and therefore it still burned. Like, things were going to burn no matter what they did. At least do something, right? Instead of just watching it happen, watching a precinct burn down. But, you know, I have my theories on why, but, you know, this was about your voting experience. You know what I mean?
I fucking knew that
knew.
he was going to win because I had a feeling that with all the still lingering stolen election shit, and he's like, I'm going to end the war with the Ukraine on day one. I'll have it figured out within 24 hours. I'm like, so there was the allegations of Russian collusion to help him win the first fucking time. And then he loses, and they stole the election. They fucked me over. It's bullshit.
I was talking with my buddy Christian, who was up from Iowa, and we're both pretty solid Democrats, but we're, you know, like a lot of people, we're centrist in many ways too. We also have some Republican viewpoints. But we both, you know, last thing we wanted was Trump to get elected again, but we both knew he was going to. And I don't know of any for sense of dread or foreboding. It was just like, to me, there was, if you looked at the signs in the world, there was just going to be no way he was going to lose, right? Because of the war in Ukraine, right? Because of the support in Israel, right? You had people, Palestinians, Muslim Americans who were voting against Kamala as a protest, not for Trump, but for your third-party candidate, Jill Stein, right? Because what? You're going to allow the guy who's going to be way worse for your cause to be elected instead?
Is Jill Stein Jewish?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because I could see Muslims being, you know, all, fuck the Jews.
Right? I heard some weird statistic that was, and I don't know if they were talking about a certain like state or if this was like nationwide, but it was like 80% of Jews voted for Kamala, right? But yet Trump is the one always talking about how he's going to, you know, be one lockstep with Israel.
Stein was raised in a Reform Jewish household, attending Chicago's North Shore Congregation, Israel.
There you go.
Yeah. So that would be my guess as to why. Is they're like, oh, she's a Jew? Well, she's pro-Israel, and fuck that shit.
I don't know why they would have voted for her instead of Kamala, but they did. Kind of like in 2016, there was a lot of people who wanted it to burn, right? There was a lot of the people that were pissed and wanted it to burn. It was just a different segment this time, right? Maybe some of the same old people in 2016 that still hate government, that want it to be, well, it will be almost non-existent at this point. Yeah.
And I was sitting there like, there's no fucking way. And so many other people in other outlets were like, there's no way. He's too fucking nuts. He's too extreme. He's talking about being a dictator. He's basically in love with the idea of authoritarian government power. Well, he's going to fuck over anybody that doesn't like him. And it's basically going to be like, here's the deal. He's going to, and he said this, I'm going to take people from my own party that are not loyal and remove them and then replace them with loyalists. And you want to know who did the same thing?
Every dictator before him?
The Nazis did that.
Yep, exactly.
That's how they rose to full power. Like the Republican Party right now will have the presidency, the Senate, and the House. They flip the House. And with the Supreme Court, they have unchecked power.
Pretty much.
Fuck the checks and balances. They can do whatever the fuck they want. And
they that was the hard-on that they were going for. They were literally going for that, and they got it. You know, in some ways, I think they were surprised at how well they did. So
many people thought there's no way in hell that this guy, with all the fucking rhetoric and how old he is and how seemingly, you want to talk about Biden's dementia? Trump's not right in the fucking head either. So we're like, we're not going to really elect a crazy guy to president again, are we?
Yeah.
Whoops.
See, what was one reason why I thought maybe I was wrong on all the signs that were pointing to him winning was the fact that the stuff he was doing at the very end, right? Like in the last couple of weeks seemed like desperate. Like they seemed like desperate moves. Like he's naming RFK Jr. to these weird positions, right? In human health services and all this kind of stuff.
A guy that had a worm in his brain that ate some of his brain.
He sounds like this when he talks. You would think that someone reanimated a fucking mummy. They just took all the wrapping off and they soaked him in warm water for 3 days, and then they just said, "Here, you're Kennedy.
Exactly.
Here's a Men's Warehouse suit."
He went from being a champion on the left to what is he now, right? Like
Whoever's going to win.
Anti-vaxxer centrist who is going to possibly have Aaron Rodgers as his vice president pick at one point in time.
Oh, my God.
Right? Like, Jesus fucking, what bizarre world have we stepped into? Like, everything about this is just back asswards. I don't get it. Matt Gaetz being nominated to Department of Justice? Are you fucking kidding me?
That was a favor for his loyalty to Trump.
Exactly.
Which is how they can make this case against him, this investigation about him sex trafficking teenage girls, go away. So, like I said, unchecked power. Trump's going to pardon who he wants. He's going to elevate his cronies. None of them are going to suffer for their misdeeds. It's going to be fucking lawlessness. You can sit here and call me someone that's like doomsaying or I'm catastrophizing. If one side has all the power and we have a government that is meant to be separate by two different sides of an aisle that work together with differing ideals to find the best solution for the people based upon what we want or they think we want, and all they're going to do is what their party wants, and more importantly, what their donation givers want.
Yes. Yep.
And above that even, what the evangelical Christian nutbags want.
Well, another thing that I didn't get to when I was talking about the signs that were pointing to it,
Keep
look
going.
at Elon Musk. Look at who is funding him. How many millions of dollars a day, or how he said 40 million a day or a week, or I forget what the number was. And the guy has access to Twitter and data mining on what topics are trending, what things are not. I mean, he has all sorts of ways to even push stuff to popularity, to raise tweets' popularities. So you know what I mean? Like, they talked about the youth vote and a lot of people being on Twitter and being on what's the Chinese one that they want to get rid of? TikTok. You know what I mean? And a lot of these things like that, like, they reached a younger generation with a lot of this message. And it's like,
enough cannot be said for how the straight white male disenfranchised crowd is like, we're going to pick Trump because he's a macho man and we're sick of being fucking lambasted just for being men and being told that we're wicked and, I'll pick the bear over the guy and all this anti-male sentiment. So women that were hating on guys for the last 4 fucking years, congratulations on pushing those dildos, those fucking walking cum reservoirs that just want to push their will on everybody now because they're so sick and tired of being shit on. And what's sad about this is they all but said they're going to do away with gay marriage, right? The talk was the Supreme Court was going to review same-sex marriage because they thought it was an overstep by Obama. So all they want to do is undo things. There's talk about this. And
see, I hadn't actually heard that. I know there's a lot of doomsaying, but I hadn't actually heard that was a legitimate
so they won't
position.
use those exact words. But there was talk about reviewing same-sex marriage for constitutionality. Conversely, a part of Project 2025, for those of us in the know, is they're going to emphasize the importance of marriage, heterosexual marriage,
right,
defined as a man and a woman. They want to get rid of like trans people. They want to take away gender affirming care, basically at large, not just for kids. And now I have one daughter that's a lesbian, another daughter that thinks she's bi but leans more towards girls. And my 11-year-old is like, Dad, am I going to lose all my rights? And I'm like, if he gets elected, things are going to get a lot shittier for girls. Yeah. And then my lesbian is like, am I going to have to hide? She cried to me because she's like, are they just going to start rounding up gay people and shooting us? I'm like, no, my God, no. I don't think. Fuck. That'd be pretty extreme. I mean, I guess. I did see that movie, The Crazies, and the remake. And the military was not our friend in that one. But anyways, yeah. So my kids are a part of that queer culture that are scared shitless about what Project 2025 means. And people that will naysay like, oh, they can't make that happen. Our buddy said, I don't know why you're scared of it. Nothing ever changes. I'm like, do you get what they're going for? How they can make this happen by getting all the power. Now they have all the power. And you want to know what was all over Twitter the day after he won?
What was that? Your body, my choice?
Well, I was going to say more people bragging like, there were pundits like, okay, can we just admit that Project 2025 was the plan the whole time, and Trump saying he had no idea about it and didn't support it was BS. His own people were calling out the fact that he fucking straight out lied about it, and now you got to wonder what the fuck's going to happen. So again, all of this shit that we've just gone down this rabbit hole about is in my head and obviously in the heads of other people in the line at City fucking Hall, especially my friend that is there, because she has a daughter that fucking wears pride stuff to support her brother, who I'm not going to say is trans, but he's a part of the gay straight alliance at school with my oldest. I like to call them the gay Vengers.
Oh, sure.
There's like no straights in the alliance. It's all gays. So she's got a son that's, I don't know, questioning at least. Has long hair, wears gender neutral colors, played with dolls. Maybe he's going to go the trans route. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Whatever he's going to be, he's going to be. Or they, you know.
And then in front of her in line was this black chick who, she's good looking. I'm like, so what do you think about that gal in front of you? Is that your sister? Because she has an adopted sister who's black. She's like, no, my sister lives downtown in Minneapolis. I'm like, oh, well, that chick's cute. She's like, you're a dork. Like, I'm just saying, she's an attractive woman. But she don't stop playing on her phone, and she's dressed like she's not going to vote. She's dressed like she's trying to impress somebody here, and I wouldn't be surprised if she had a candy necklace of Plan B. And a bunch of fucking, patsies that she uses for money. She's like, rude. Like, it's not rude. Don't you ever just look at people and make base judgments?
I not necessarily base judgments, but necessarily, sometimes, what is their life like? Or, I wonder what their story is.
Yeah, way to downplay your natural judginess. You look at people and go, oh, yeah, I know the archetype. You think you know them. You don't know them, but you think you know them, and you make a judgment. A lot of us do that shit. We don't always admit it. I'm straight out fucking throwing myself under the bus and saying, I looked at her, and I thought, okay, so she's probably like between 22 and 26.
Okay.
And she's not wearing underwear with those fucking velour leggings. So they're wedged up her ass crack. Wow! That's usually somebody that's DTF, right? And I'm just thinking of all this grandiose shit to take my mind off of, A, the weight, B, the fact that I feel like my vote's fucking pointless, and C, that we're all going to be fucked 6 ways from Sunday, the day after he gets sworn in.
Which, was interesting to Jack Smith's investigation and one other investigation into him. I believe the documents case are all winding down now because they're federal investigations and because of...
He's going to shut them down.
Well, no, because of what the Supreme Court basically ruled, his conservative Supreme Court ruled, that he has pretty much unchecked immunity. They're like, it's because of that ruling by the Supreme Court that they're winding him down.
How do we get to the point where there's partisan allegiances in the Supreme Court that supersede the need to not give our president unchecked power and the ability to do whatever he wants, quote, within the scope of his duties, which is not very clearly defined. And he can just say, no, I was doing it. I was doing my duties. You're gay. Fuck you.
It's a scary thing, and it's happened during my lifetime where the justices have become hired based more on their political rulings and their beliefs than their actual understanding of the law. You know what I mean?
Or willingness to try to set precedent that benefits more than takes away. Mm-hmm. It seems.
It does feel like this country is returning to almost like a 1960s style civil rights movement again. All the progress that's been fought for is going to be tried to be taken away, and it will be a slippery slope. And I can't say for a fact that anything is going to end up the way we think it is, right? Nothing happened. When I was thinking when he got elected in 2016, the stuff that was going to go down, very few things went down the way I thought it did. Although him repealing all the EPA protections, I still want to stab him for.
Well, the one thing that kind of fucked the Democrats big time was not just that she picked Walz. It's that Biden hung on too long.
Yep.
And then they didn't have any sort of primary to let people decide or give us another option besides Kamala. However, I read into it, and the rules state if it's after the RNC and they've already nominated, they don't have to go through all that again and vote. They can just default to the VP if they're running.
I still think it should have been up for some type of a debate, right? That debate would have allowed what a lot of people complained about for a long time is they didn't know enough about her. They didn't know who she was. They didn't know what her policies were or what her viewpoints were on things. And the debate would have given them that, right? It would have been that stage to showcase what are you for, what are you against? Can you explain some of these past things that you may have done instead of avoiding it all up until the very end and not having any good answers for anything?
She voted early, and then they asked her how she voted on Prop 36, which is in California, which is they wanted to take away some of the reforms that lessened punishments for crime and make it more stringent, and she refused to answer, which people seem to take as her meaning she'd be soft on crime still. People are sick of that, so that's another thing that helped Trump out, because he's like, maybe the purge, day one, we'll go out there and we'll fucking kill these drug dealers. I like what Roger Duterte does in the Philippines, and that's what we should do with these drug dealers. And I'm not against that. I've said shit like that before. But actually doing it is a whole nother fucking thing. But so then I'm standing in line still. Let's go back to me in line. And every time I inch closer, I'm not getting faster and faster to the front of the line. It's taking forever. And at the 75-minute mark, I finally got to the fucking line front where I could see the voting booths. There were 12 booths. There were not like hundreds of people there. There might have been a total of 200 at one time. Mm-hmm. But there's no fucking way it should have gone that slow.
Right.
So it really was like, I should have just gone home. This fucking pisses me off. But then you're waiting in line, and it's what you do like when you're waiting in line for a ride at an amusement park, where you're so out of love with the concept of standing there that you're like, fuck this. Well, fuck, I've also already waited this long. I might just wait it out. And then you go on the ride, and it sucks. And then I'm sitting there, and my friend's like, how many booths are there? And I'm like, there's fucking 12. This is nuts. We've been standing here for almost 90 fucking minutes. And I get in there, and here's your thing, and this is you. Okay, pick a booth. And I'm sitting there, and there's all these fucking different state Supreme Court justices that I don't know who the fuck they are. And it's mostly incumbents running unopposed.
Yep.
And you get there, and the interesting thing to me was I couldn't name for you a single third-party candidate prior to getting that ballot in front of my eyes. I'm like, there's 6 of them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck, man? Talk about controlling the narrative and limiting our ability to know our options.
You got to have money to put your media out there. Otherwise, people don't know who you are in this day and age.
And I got to tell you, I'm standing in there, and I'm like, I got to do the right thing. I got to do the right thing. What do you think that meant?
I was going to say not voting for Trump, but that would have left 7 other options, as you said. So I would have said vote Kamala.
I'm standing there and I'm looking at her name, and it says Harris Walls. And I'm like, fuck this shit. Because when my friend asked me, who are you voting for? I'm like, neither one of these dorks, because they're both underqualified and pieces of shit, and we deserve better options. And I'm thinking of my daughters crying, and they're concerned. I'm thinking of people I used to work with at the jail. A couple of them are lesbians that are married, and one of them has a family. The other one is not. But the one that's not is like been in the military for years. She's now a first sergeant. She's fucking awesome.
Sure.
I can't name names, obviously, but she is awesome. And I'm thinking about them and how they might feel worried about what's going to happen. And it's like, I need to do the right fucking thing.
Yeah.
And to me, a vote for Trump is a vote against women. And I have 3 daughters. So for me, there's my kids, there's my friends, there's my coworkers. You know, there's other women that I don't know in their 20s and 30s that might need access to reproductive care. And all I can think is I need to go with my conscience. And then I went to circle that little next to Kamala and Timmy.
Yeah.
And I went down to the write-in line.
All right.
And I voted with my conscience for someone I believe in, who wasn't on the ballot even, who I know has a head for politics and would do right if they were on the ballot. And I wrote in Jesse Ventura, which in my mom's terms is a waste of a vote. But count me in those discontented, because I've been railing against two-party politics for the entirety of this show's existence, which is 8 years.
Right.
And I guess I thought that my one vote would be canceled out by all the women that showed up to all the rallies for Kamala.
Oh,
Right? I thought all the gays and the transes would go out there and vote for her en masse. And I thought, it's my vote, and some would say I'm throwing it away, but it is my vote. And he is, as much as it sounds like fucking hero worship, he is a very level-headed centrist that's left-leaning. And frankly, the straw that broke my back was Biden saying, I'm going to run, after we saw that disaster debate.
oh God, yeah.
And he's like, I'm not dropping out. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They've been lying to us for years. All the shit that Fox News has been pointing out about, well, they only let him answer so many questions. It's almost like he's on a fucking leash. It feels like it's a puppet regime, right? And I shouldn't buy into that, but there's too much shit that makes me feel like it's true. And I'm like, you guys had the chance. You were all about, I'm fine with a woman president. I'm fine with a black woman president. I'm fine with a gay Asian president. I don't fucking care what your color or your sexual orientation is, right? Fucking, George Takei could run and we'd have a gay Asian president. My point is it felt like they're focused too much on being progressive socially and not enough on saving the country. And that doesn't make me, siding with Trump. And that's, our parents fucked us hard by just dealing with the two parties and never pushing hard enough to break them up or force a third. They had how many fucking decades to sit there and go, there needs to be reform. The Electoral College is bullshit. It should be just the popular vote. We need to have a third option. Fucking Gore and Bush douching a turd sandwich on South Park. That was what, 2004? Or 2000? So two parties for so long, and they won't stop, and it doesn't change. And it's like, you're right, I could vote for the lesser of two evils, but I was exhausted with doing that and going, he can't win, right? I know I say he's going to win, but he can't fucking win. And I'm just like, I'm writing in his name. People will be pissed. I don't fucking care. I mean, shit, my estranged wife said she voted for Kanye the last go-round.
So 2 points here. One, you live in a state that was most likely going to go left, was going to go Harris Walls anyway, so you're right. Technically, you could have done whatever you wanted with your vote. It doesn't really matter in this state, right? Just like if I went to Wisconsin or any other red state and I wanted to vote blue, it really doesn't fucking matter. So I don't think it's really too big of an issue there. As far as another thing, third-party candidates, they exist more than you think, right?
I know.
Like you say, they're harder to get visibility, to be seen. In 2000, some people don't remember it, but Gore might have lost that because of Ralph Nader. A lot of people forgot about him and the Green Party. That was a big party that still has a candidate. If you looked on that ballot, one of the 6 others that you saw in there was a Green Party candidate, right? So they still exist, and it is hard to really get out there, to really understand, or to really feel like you can back somebody like that, because they don't stand a chance in hell. They really don't. At this current juncture, right? For the amount of money that needs to be raised, you'd almost need somebody like a Ross Perot again to run as an independent.
And who controls the ability of the third party to never rise to the level of the other two?
You see, ask Jesse, right? He ran as an independent. He was a governor in Minnesota as an independent.
But that's governor level, not president. You need 15% polling number to get on a debate stage. We've talked about this in various other election cycles, right?
I'm trying to remember
how
Perot
set that up,
did it.
and they made it almost insurmountable going forward for the last 5 or 6 elections. There's people like, we need a third fucking option. And they're like, well, but you can't get enough fucking support to get him on there. They have all the power to cede to that will of the people, and they don't. And that is like the absolute final apple seed of me going, I can't fucking do it this time. I don't care if it makes me seem like an idiot. I can't rail against this two parties monopoly bullshit and then vote for the lesser, because then it's like I'm just buying into their bullshit. I'm just going along because they're fucking forcing me to.
Well,
so instead of getting the carrot or the stick, I got neither. And I'm going to get the stick regardless.
You know, some would argue that what does the voting really matter? I had a buddy who basically said they've already picked who's going to win anyway, type of thing.
Like what? Like secret government bullshit?
Yeah, even getting more
Illuminati.
Hey, you know,
I don't doubt it.
What's funny, when I was a kid, conspiracy theories were like, yeah, those are just whack jobs. You know, Ted Kaczynski living out in Montana, and now it's just every day, whatever you want to come with. You know, whatever feels most comfortable, believe instead. You know, the more outlandish, why not? You know,
and that's what Elon has given us when he bought Twitter. Was open forum for these wackadoodles
unchecked
to fucking say this shit, and then to go a step further and Trump's Truth Social. I can't imagine what it's like. I've never ventured on there. I don't know if you have.
I wouldn't give him 1 cent.
It'd be like fucking drinking ayahuasca and then going to the fair.
Yeah.
He'd just be overtaken by all these sights and colors and madness while you sit there and puke your guts up.
You know, I've always considered myself to be somebody who of reasonable intelligence, right? I've been able to read, research, you know, learn how to think critically. I almost stumbled over that, right? And a lot of what I hear on the Republican side is not supported by any type of critical thinking. Right?
Correct.
A lot of the arguments, a lot of their basis.
Anti-science, anti-reason, anti-environmentalism.
Right, for a side that talks about fuck your feelings, or had been talking about F your feelings for so long, it's really surprising to me how they are the ones so hyper-focused on feelings, right? It's amazing, right?
They're basically the lords of, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah. Well, and look at who's leading them, right? The ultimate.
Crybaby.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, I went through all of that just to ultimately write it in and feel like, you know what? I don't feel like a failure. Even if he does win, I did what was in my heart. And that's the point of voting, is to, and I can be mad at Trump voters all I want, but I dislike the candidate. I have to live with the voters. And aside from their political allegiances, I know there's good people that might be a little mixed up due to their faith or due to being raised Republican. Oh. I have family members that are staunchly Republican that were very quiet this time around because they're women. And they say, don't let politics get in the way of friendships. I fucking stopped talking to Tim because I thought his anti-left, pro-right Trump worship was almost traitorous in tone, that it made my skin crawl listening to him regurgitate that low-rung, non-critically thought-out MAGA bullshit.
Yeah.
So even though I stood to alienate people by doing what I did, I can stand on my own too and say, hey, I didn't waver. I didn't fall into the trap of what I constantly bitch about. And sometimes you have to take the moral victory. It doesn't get you to the big game, but a moral victory does teach you a lot. And I'm just like, we're going to get where we're going to get. Every year since the pandemic, life has gotten exponentially worse for basically everyone. I don't see things getting better at any point, anytime soon. And we should all just kind of eat the fortune cookie, knowing that the paper inside read, the 90s were the apex of modern society, and now humanity is on the decline. Deal with it.
That's pretty bleak. Two things I want to leave you with.
Okay.
One, every generation thinks the time that they grew up was the best time in life, history, everything was better back then. It's just naturally how we work. Second thing is my wife was not a voter. in 2016, right?
Okay.
And because of me, she became more politically aware, right?
Okay.
2020, she voted, and she won, right? Her side won. This time she voted, and her side didn't win, and she was feeling pretty upset. You know, this is why I don't vote. This is why I don't want to get involved. This is why I don't want to pay attention to politics. And, you know, one thing I said to her early on, the reason why I vote, and this has been true for a long time, is even if my guy doesn't win, it's my voice, and it's my chance to give a middle finger to the guy who does win if I didn't vote for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, fuck you, Donald Trump.
Oh,
Fuck
absolutely.
you, Republicans, right? It doesn't matter if you voted for Jill Stein, Jesse Ventura, Tupac Shakur, whatever it is.
Right.
You didn't vote for the guy who won. I did not condone whatever is going to happen in the next 4 years. That's not on me. That's not on me. That's on all you other idiots. That's the way I look at it, and that's not necessarily therapy in a way to distance it, but it really is. I feel secure. Like you said, you had to make a stand. You had to make a choice. You had to step outside the boundaries of the two-party system, right?
It's how I was raised by my Democratic mother that was in local politics that taught me. Of all the things she fucked me up with, she at least taught me to be strong in my independent thought, go for what I believe is right, and not take abuse, just lying down. Right? And if you follow this show over the years, I've lost jobs sticking up for myself and other people, Menards. I've been walked upon working for the government. That's like a twofer.
Yeah.
And I have always stuck up for myself when people have challenged me, which is multiple jobs. And if it is to detriment of my employment, oh well, because when I'm old, I can say, yeah, but I didn't get down on my knees and suck that corporate money cock, did I? Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It. That is at What Do We Call It. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.